What's up and welcome back. I'm John Stark, back to MovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic. I'm here to talk about Atomic People. It's a documentary, so click like and subscribe because a lot of the channels that people click like and subscribe to don't review documentaries. I think it was produced through the BBC, and it's weird how we have so many documentaries that there were so many great documentaries last year that like they couldn't even get shortlisted. I don't know what happened to Atomic People, and I don't know where it is and why it isn't trending. But I feel like this should be an Oscar nominee. I'm just throwing that out there as a thing. But then again, I feel like I saw multiple documentaries where I was like, well, this is an easy choice. Like We Will Dance Again. I was like, well, this is obvious, right? I mean, technically, No Other Land also happened at the same time, and they're relatively about the same thing. So, um, I don't know. You throw them up in the air. I think there's room for both of them, but that's just me. Um, but Atomic People is one of those profound documentaries that you watch where you just go, fuck, and in a time and age where people keep trying to like remove things from our history books because we're like afraid of being guilty about them. I mean, luckily, we just had a huge movie last year called Oppenheimer, so most people are aware that we did this. But, you know, I don't know, generations from now, we may not be. So this is a little like the Commandant Shadow, where it has somebody who is still alive and they're able to get them on camera and log their experiences, the son of Rudolf Hess, before he passes, which is inevitable because of his age. Then also his sister was up there in age too, and she's on camera. So, and they have a survivor of the concentration camps who's on camera. Um, Here you have people who survived the atomic bombs in Japan who, like, somehow survived against all odds and who are talking about what it's like not to just have been there, not to just have seen them, not to just have experienced it and what happens to the people and the places and the buildings, but also how Japan treated them afterwards. Like, this is kind of a profound documentary for two reasons, because you would think it's just like, well, fuck America for doing this, but it's not. It's also like our own country ran experiments on us, for years. So, um, there's that too. It's sort of like assuming that We Will Dance Again is going to be like anti-Palestine. That means you haven't seen the movie. It's also very anti-Israel because the police didn't respond in time to the terrorist attack. So it does both. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's anti-Hamas and anti-Israeli police for lack of response time. This does both too. This criticizes both sides of an argument that you wouldn't think necessarily if you watched it on the surface. You'd be like, well, I don't want to watch that because it's obviously we did something shitty and they're talking about us. Well, sometimes we need to hear this kind of stuff because clearly we like to repeat history because we're doing a great job of it right now. Just... Anyway, so yeah, this does have audio description. If you can find it, if you can watch it, I think you should. Just like I think Sugarcane, which does have audio description and it's just not being used, needs to be watched because we need to understand what happened so we don't do it again. Like, some of these things are just like, you need to hear from the people who this shit happened to and understand why not, before they're gone, before they're not here anymore, because these people like are in their 90s. We dropped the atomic bomb in 1945, two of them, by the way. And the people that are featured here were children at the time, so they're in like their 90s. And the fact that they've survived an atomic bomb and made it to their 90s, it's like, man, what do you eat? Like, we didn't make a side movie that's like, what is your diet plan? How to survive an atomic bomb and still make it into your 90s. Here's how I eat. This is my diet. Because you would think that something, I mean, I'm laughing, but it's serious. Like, you would think that something like that would, you wouldn't find people that made it into their 90s, that they would have had problem after problem after problem. But God willing, these people, you know? So yeah, I'm super intrigued. I think they should follow up with a film of how we made it here, you know? Like we talked about our experience, but now we're going to tell you how is it? What were the life choices that we made that got us to the 90s? And then just tell everybody to live like that, because if you can survive what they survived in the radiation and everything, um, and then still make it, it's like, damn, your diet must be amazing. Like your exercise, whatever your regimen, whatever you do, has got to be amazing. You know, I I'm just it's impressive. And listening to their stories, it's horrifying. By the way, the movie's absolutely horrifying. Uh, to listen to like what happened with the bombs and the skin was falling off of people, um, yeah, the radiation, and I mean, like the few kids who somehow made it basically through the blast were having like bury their classmates that didn't, um, and in like mass graves because they were all sort of like radiation toxic, and kind of like burning them and cremating them. Uh, it just, I mean, the they make the comments which I've heard before about people who are just completely vaporized and like their shadow was on the ground. That's here too, and yeah, I mean, this is a time and place where uh, shit happened. They do acknowledge that there were pamphlets that were dropped. It's just they thought, they laughed at them at the time because the propaganda that they were being fed. See, they were kids, and that's the thing is, unfortunately, what we ended up dropping the bomb on, because as they point out, is like basically every able-bodied man at that point was in the army, so they ended up dropping the atomic bomb basically on a whole bunch of women, children, and elderly people. Um, because that's basically what remained. Everybody else was fighting, and the propaganda that they were feeding was that they were winning. Um, Even to the point that in World War II, after Germany and Italy had given up, Japan was still fighting. And so, from their perspective, when the pamphlets dropped, they thought it was silly because they were told it was silly. They were told not to fear it because that's never going to happen. Um, and then it did. So I don't think these people uniquely hate just Americans, and the survivors ended up they're called something. They get this like sort of group derogatory term that defines them for the remainder of their life because they survived an atomic bomb, and they're talking about how other people were tested on and the things that happened to them. Also, what happens when you have a kid, if you're somebody who survived an atomic and you have a blast, covers that. How that stuff kind of gets passed down through to you. So, in some ways, it's better that this generation just not reproduce, because they're going to end up reproducing, um, if at all. There's talk of sort of like the things that had been reproduced, uh, and the what the fetuses came out looking like, and it's just everything's sort of horrifying. Like this is a very tough watch of a movie. Um, but I like to be challenged like this. I love when films just um, feel like they have something to say, and it has to be said. It has to be said now. And the reason why it has to be said now is because even when you get to the end of the film, you'll get sort of a little rest in peace for one of the people who was in the movie. That's how close they were. That's how old these people are, and how, you have to jump on it. You have to get the interview in there. You have to get this on camera and people talking about it before they go away. So, great use of documentarian time, I guess you could say, compared to some of the other things that we could be documenting. Um, and I'm glad that this documentary was made. I want it to gain more traction. So I'm reviewing it. So if you can find Atomic People, I know that I have, because I can see my metrics. So I know I have a fair amount of people who come in from Europe who watch my channel. So if you have Atomic People over there and on the BBC or whatever, give it a look-see. It's worth your time. It's probably something that ended up on PBS. I'm gonna guess it's maybe like a Frontline thing. I don't really know. I didn't do that much research, but it has, yeah, there's audio description. So that's it. Atomic People. I'm giving it an A because there's really nothing else to say about it other than the fact that it is perfectly capturing thoughts about from these people who experienced one of the most profound moments in our history and survived it. And they do a really good job of telling you what that was like to be there for it and what their lives have been like since. So it does exactly what it's supposed to do. So thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and I will see you guys on the other side.